Well, good morning from Cottage Farmstead. I'm Rebecca with my husband Nathan here, and like we mentioned, I believe in last week's video, that we're paring back our garden and putting it in a different location this year, as our final garden location is not yet ready due to the final house grading not being complete yet. So we thought we'd take you along and show you what we're deciding to plant this year. We're kind of paring down to more or less the essentials that we need to preserve over the winter. And some herbs and things like that are just way more cost effective to grow ourselves. So let me flip you around and I'll show you what we're growing. All right, so we have them just scattered all over the table here. We went through our seed container earlier before I remembered to pull out the camera. So let's see, let's start with vegetables. So we are going to do two types of cherry tomatoes. I'm on the hunt for finding a non-hybrid variety that tastes as good as Sun Gold. So these are the two candidates that we're tasting this year. Then we're gonna grow Amish paste and striped Roman. This one we've grown before and it's super steady. It's a great producer and I love the coloring on it. This is just a classic variety that does great for canning. We're not gonna grow a whole bunch of slicers and things like that this year. We're just purely going for things that we're gonna eat fresh and things that we're gonna can this year, since we don't wanna go overboard while we're still trying to finish our house and move in the middle of summer. Other vegetables are tomatillos. I love salsa verde. And we saved some seeds 2 years ago, and then we also have seed from 2019, so we'll be probably planting both of those just to see which one germinates for us, but love some green salsa. And then we have here Carolina bell pepper, and we grew these last year and they did pretty well, because we usually have issues with sun scald because it gets too hot and then we get disease because it's cool and wet at a random point, but these did pretty well. The only downside was our tomato plants ended up overshadowing them at a certain point. I think they would have done better in a more sunny location, so we are going to put these on a south facing slope this year, so we'll see how these do. We might have to add a little shade cloth if it gets too toasty for them. And then this pepper, a friend gave to me the seeds, and it grew pretty well for us the last 2 years that we've grown it. So we're gonna use up, I think we have like 5 or 6 seeds. We'll use those up. And then lastly, for the vegetables, we have okra. And okra is a classic southern vegetable. I don't enjoy it necessarily breaded and fried like most people make it down here. I love it in gumbo and soups and things like that. So we like to grow this variety. Clemson is actually right around the corner from our future property, so this is like the ideal variety. It was bred here, so it grows great without any issues. Now for herbs, we like growing calendula. We put that in like tea. We like eating the flowers, so we'll have some calendula. Aren't they pretty? Then we'll be growing some basil, since that's an annual. Parsley, our parsley plant that we had for about 2 years, passed away on us, and since we're moving, we figured we'd start a new one rather than trying to move a dying plant. And then for some fun, we're gonna add some of these old sunflower seeds as we are leaving behind. We have some self-sowing sunflowers in our current backyard, and we're leaving those behind. So we're gonna take these with us and start letting them spread around our new property.
So when it comes to starting your own seeds, there are a couple of things that you need to be mindful of. One is soil temperature, air temperature, lighting, and humidity. These are all greatly affect the overall germination, but then the success of your seedlings. This year we do not have grow lights inside, which complicates things a little bit, but we can get the seeds up and through germination inside before we move them out. Thankfully here in Zone 8A, we're already almost to our frost date, so most of these seeds, such as tomatoes, calendula, peppers, can all be planted like 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. So with doing this, we're going to hopefully be beyond when we might get a frost. But if we happen to get a frost, we can always just bring them inside, since we don't have that many flats to work with this year. So we've tried a lot of different growing mixes for our propagation and germination. And we found that we really like the Jolly Gardener in particular, as it has the right consistency. It's almost fluffy, really light. It doesn't have large particulate matter, so you don't get large air pockets which might dry out faster. So in terms of the consistency, this has been a very good product for our farm here.
Tomatoes first.
The time has come!
We need labels.
She's back!
So one of the most important things when you're starting a lot of seeds is labeling, especially since we're doing several different varieties of tomatoes. So we have some paste, we have a semi-indeterminate striped Roman that we're doing. We're also doing 2 different types of cherries. So it just helps us in the long run to know what we're planting where later. So last year we saved some Carolina pepper seeds, and we're going to see if we did a good job with our seed saving. It looked like we had done it well. They look pretty much the same as what we planted, so we're very curious to see how germination goes. So we're going to do one in our seed from the previous year, from 2020, and then we're going to do some from the seed that we saved last year of 2021, and we'll see which one germinates better. So we're going to do a similar germination test with seed that we bought 3 years ago and seed that we saved 2 years ago to see which one germinates for us. We don't necessarily need all 12 plants, but it'll get us something.
And we're also planting a similar comparison as we saved some of our calendula seed. This seed just looks so funky. I just love how rustic it is. That's actually the seed. You never guess it. But what we like about calendula, it makes excellent salves. So from a medicinal standpoint, it's great for that. But in the gardens, it does great because it helps attract beneficial insects while also bringing a lot of good pollinators to the garden. So we try to always have flowers, whether it's calendula or we'll do zinnias, something that's always flowering throughout the year, just to continue to both add beauty, but also attract those beneficial insects. So after you have the seed planted, it's good to tamp the soil down on top just to compress it lightly. This will help prevent any dry pockets from forming, but also make sure that the soil is well moistened. If it's too dry, the seed can have variable germination results, so the consistency of moisture and temperature both help greatly. On this note, if you are growing in an area where it's really cold, it might be good to have a heat mat, but then also try to trap in as much of the humidity and temperature as possible for consistency with just like a dome. We have these plastic domes here, which just set on top of the flat to help trap some of that humidity in, which really helps with that germination rate.
So one of the reasons that we're doing the A/B testing for seed that we saved and seed that we bought from a company is we're relatively new to saving certain types of seeds. We've done like tomato seeds and things like and beans and stuff in the past. We haven't done things like okra and peppers and things like that as frequently, so we're just curious to see if we did it properly and didn't miss a step in the process. Last year we tried doing okra and apparently we did it too soon, so none of the seed that we had saved ourselves germinated. So we're just kind of doing some A/B testing until we figure out our technique for seed saving. It's also tricky with the humid climate. Sometimes it just doesn't dry properly and it molds, so we'll see how it goes this year. Well, we can't wait to start having some seeds germinating around here. It's been far too long for us, especially with all this house building going on. So even though we're getting a little bit of a later start, we're very excited to have things growing again. We'll keep you updated on our garden and house building progress, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time.